At 04:27 hours, the first wave hits. 12 airbases across a 600-mile front absorb coordinated cruise missile strikes. Runways crack, hangars collapse, fuel depots ignite. Within 90 seconds, 340 missiles impact military infrastructure. Air defense batteries engage, but saturation overwhelms coverage. Explosions ripple across taxiways. Aircraft burn in revetments. Command posts lose power. The enemy's objective is clear: ground the Air Force before dawn. In this scenario, Combat Power explores what happens when air superiority becomes a race against the clock. The attacking force believes they've achieved strategic surprise. They calculate 72 hours until Defender aircraft return to full operations. That's their window. That's when ground forces will advance. But the Defenders have studied these tactics. Recovery operations begin before the last missile detonates. Engineering battalions mobilize in darkness. Every airbase has pre-positioned rapid repair equipment. Portable lighting systems activate. Damage assessment teams sprint across smoking craters. The count starts. 72 hours to restore combat air power or lose the war. Which force breaks first? A. Air defense. B. Naval group. C. Command network. The opening strike destroys 18% of Defender aircraft on the ground, but 82% survive in hardened shelters and dispersed locations. The problem isn't aircraft availability, it's runway capacity. Crater analysis shows 47 impact points across primary runways at 3 major bases. Secondary airfields receive lighter damage, but lack maintenance facilities. Engineers face a brutal calculation. Each runway requires 8 hours minimum repair for safe operations, but the enemy will launch follow-up strikes within 6 hours. Speed matters more than perfection. At Base Victor 7, engineering crews deploy rapid runway repair systems. These aren't standard peacetime procedures. Combat Power has covered emergency airfield operations before, and the doctrine is unforgiving. Teams fill craters with rapid-setting concrete mix that cures in 90 minutes. Temporary matting covers damaged sections. The runway won't last a month, but it needs to function for 72 hours. By ZO 615 hours, Victor 7 has one usable strip at 2,400 feet, enough for fighter operations. The first F-16 launches at Aero 642. 15 minutes of repairs bought 15 more hours of operations. What happens next changes everything. The second wave arrives at 11:20 hours. Enemy intelligence tracked the repair efforts. 70 missiles target the 3 bases that restored operations. This time, air defense is ready. Patriot batteries relocated during the night. Mobile short-range systems fill gaps. Interceptors destroy 61 inbound missiles. 9 get through. Victor 7 takes 2 more hits. The just-repaired runway cracks again. But the enemy made a critical error. They focused on bases, not the engineering units. Combat Power analyzes this tactical shift. The Defenders scatter their recovery operations. Highway strips become operational airfields. Engineers survey 40 miles of straight road sections. Within 4 hours, 3 highway segments transform into temporary airbases. Fuel trucks position at pre-planned coordinates. Munitions arrive by convoy. Mobile control towers establish communications. By 1800 hours, fighters operate from asphalt that carried civilian traffic that morning. The enemy didn't plan for distributed operations. Their targeting packages assumed centralized airbase structures. Now they face 15 operating locations instead of 12. Reconnaissance struggles to track mobile operations. At hour 24, Defender air operations reach 60% of pre-strike capacity, not from repairing major bases, but from dispersing across the battle space. Combat Power has documented this concept in previous scenarios. Resilience through distribution beats hardening through concentration. Fighter squadrons rotate through highway strips every 90 minutes. Ground crews work in shifts. Pilots sleep in commandeered buildings. Maintenance happens in open fields under camouflage netting. It's inefficient compared to peacetime, but effective under combat conditions. Necessary defense or catastrophic overreach. The Defender Command faces a decision. Current air operations sustain defensive missions, combat air patrols, base protection, reconnaissance. But offensive strike capability remains limited. Bombers need longer runways. Heavy fighters require more maintenance infrastructure. To truly seize air superiority, major airbases must return to full function. That means engineers must work under continued threat. At hour 36, the third wave launches. This time, the enemy commits 180 missiles plus 40 loitering munitions. They target both traditional bases and suspected highway strips. It's a resources race. The Defender has more interceptors but limited reload capacity. Air defense crews fire everything: long-range Patriots, medium-range NASAMs, short-range Avengers. Kill rates exceed 85%, but 26 missiles penetrate defenses. Base Victor 7 takes 4 more impacts. The runway is destroyed beyond rapid repair. Engineers shift focus to Victor 3 and Victor 9. Highway Strip Alpha 12 gets hit by 2 missiles. Casualties mount among recovery crews. But combat power observers note the trend. Enemy missile stocks are depleting faster than Defender repair capacity. How many interceptors can one destroyer launch simultaneously? A. 24. B. 96. C. Over 200. At hour 48, Defender intelligence reports enemy missile stockpiles at 40% of pre-war levels. Their Air Force attempted counter-air missions, but lost 17 aircraft to Defender fighters operating from dispersed locations. The tide is shifting. Engineering focus intensifies on Victor 3. This base has the longest runways and largest fuel storage. If fully operational, it can support bomber missions deep into enemy territory. Round-the-clock repair operations commence. Crews work in 4-hour shifts. Portable generators power flood lighting. The runway is 12,000 feet long, but only needs 8,000 feet operational for bomber ops. Engineers concentrate on a continuous strip. Heavy equipment moves rubble. Concrete trucks pour mix. Asphalt layers compress fresh surface. By hour 54, Victor 3 has 6,000 feet serviceable. At hour 60, the enemy launches their fourth wave. 95 missiles, their final reserve for airbase suppression. They know what's happening at Victor 3. 60 missiles target that one location. Defender Air Defense commits everything to protection. 8 Patriot batteries ring the base. Fighter caps fly overlapping patterns. Electronic warfare units jam enemy targeting. This is the decisive engagement for air superiority. Missiles scream inbound. Interceptors launch in rapid succession. The sky fills with contrails and explosions. 31 enemy missiles get through the outer defense layer. Short-range systems engage at close range. Gun systems fire thousands of rounds. 4 missiles impact Victor 3. 2 hit taxiways. 1 destroys a fuel truck. 1 impacts the runway at the 5,200 foot marker. Engineers assess damage while debris still falls. The hit created a 40-foot crater, but it's outside the critical 8,000-foot section. Repairs continue. If combat power decides wars, type combat power. At hour 66, the first B-1 bomber lands at Victor 3. The runway holds. By hour 70, 6 bombers are armed and fueled. 5 escorts assemble. The offensive package launches at hour 71. The target: enemy air bases that launched the initial strikes. Precision munitions crater runways. Hangar facilities collapse. Fuel storage ignites. The enemy faces the same challenge the defenders just overcame, but without the same engineering capability or distributed operations doctrine. At hour 72, Defender air operations reach 91% of pre-strike capacity across 19 operating locations. The enemy's air operations fall to 35% capacity. Air superiority is achieved not through destroying enemy aircraft, but through winning the repair and resilience race. Combat power has observed this pattern across multiple scenarios. Modern warfare increasingly tests logistics and engineering as much as firepower. The tactical lesson is clear. Speed of recovery matters more than depth of defense. Distributed operations complicate enemy targeting more than hardened facilities. Engineering capability is combat power. Every hour of delayed operations equals kilometers of lost territory if ground forces exploit the gap. The Defender won the 72-hour battle because they pre-planned for distributed operations and invested in rapid repair capabilities. The quiz answer: interceptor capacity varies by system, but modern destroyers with Aegis can guide over 200 missiles if equipped with sufficient launchers and magazines, though simultaneous launches are typically limited by fire control channels to several dozen at once. What would you order next? Continue offensive air operations or pause to fully restore base infrastructure? Prioritize bomber strikes or fighter sweeps? Maintain distributed operations or reconsolidate at major bases? These decisions determine whether tactical air superiority becomes strategic dominance. Combat power demonstrates that raw force means nothing without the systems to sustain it. Subscribe to Combat Power, where raw force decides survival.